I'm back with a new haircut. What do you think? What do you think of this haircut? This was a haircut by an unnamed person, Lilia, who cut my hair earlier today. And I think barbershops are open. We've been in this lockdown quarantine period. I think barbershops have been open for quite some time. I just haven't had a reason to get a haircut. So I was wearing hats to cover up my bad, really misshapen hair. This person that I won't name, Lilia, she cut my hair earlier just to give it a little bit of shape. I'm not sure if I like it or not. I think I might have a new haircut next time I do this, but no hat today. I'm going hatless. Repeat, hatless, as Chief Wiggum says. So today I'm going to talk about a band that I probably have no business talking about. A very polarizing band. I think a lot of people either love or hate this band. I used to be in the latter category. I used to hate this band. Today I'm going to talk about, you've already seen the title of it. Today I'm going to talk about the Doors. My Doors history, as my cat joins me here. My Doors history, as you might expect, the Doors were a little bit before my time. So I don't have the history with the Doors. This is kind of keeping in my classic rock theme. I guess in the last 4 episodes I've done the Doors this time. Last time was the Who I do love, and the Beatles before that, and Led Zeppelin. I think those are the last 4. So I'm kind of doing this classic rock thing. Most of these bands, all of these bands, they were well before my time. So these are all of those bands plus today the Doors. These are the Go Back albums. I got these albums long after the band had broken up or stopped being a band. About the Doors, similar to Led Zeppelin, there was a time in my life, a pretty significant time in my life, I hated the Doors. I just couldn't stand them at all. I guess when I was a teenager, you can go back and listen to what I said about Led Zeppelin. I think it's pretty much the same thing. When I was in high school, I hated the Doors. To me, they were a classic rock band, which at the time I was into Iron Maiden and Metallica and Motley Crue and Motorhead and any other bands with M, Slayer, I guess, and AC/DC and Van Halen, and the Doors were an old band, and I didn't like them, and they were on the radio all the time, and as much as I loved the radio, I sometimes hated it for, kind of promoting these bands that I didn't really like. So through a good, I would say, part of my teenage years and more, I hated the Doors. I'll tell you, I've talked about these things before. I'm going to talk about mostly I'm going to go through their discography. I do have all the Doors albums. I'm going to show you all those. I'm going to hold those up to the camera so you can see that I have them. So I do have some kind of loyalty to the Doors, like I do with the Beatles, which I needed a co-host for, Lilia, again. Shh. And Led Zeppelin, and who else did I say? Oh, the Who, of course. I do like the Who. I'm getting off track already. So a little bit of my history with the Doors. Obviously, I never saw them live, just like Led Zeppelin and the Beatles. I did see the Who live. I never saw the Doors live in any incarnation of them. Obviously, they were no longer a band shortly after I was born. Then they I guess kind of they didn't reform. They did something with Ian Astbury, and I think it was in the 90s, Ian Astbury from The Cult. I didn't really have much interest in that. And so just to get this out of the way, I've never seen the Doors live. I always talk about the shirts. I'm a real t-shirt guy. I've never had a Doors shirt. I've never also had a Beatles shirt or a Led Zeppelin shirt or a Who shirt. So just to get that out of the way. So yeah, I mentioned they're polarizing. A lot of people love them or hate them. Maybe the first real, maybe CCR, I don't know, but I think a very important American, the Beatles and the Who and Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd were all not American. None of them were American. So I think the Doors were they maybe carried the flag for the American bands of that era, the late 60s. Very short career. Only I think their first album came out in 67 and their last one came out in 71. And what else can you say? It's the Doors, and I'm going to start right now with their first album. Where else would I start, right? So this is the Doors. This came out in 1967, and about the Doors catalog, it's a little bit. It's not nearly as complex as the Who or the Beatles, who had American or international releases and then British releases. But they did re-release their albums several times. They remaster them. They have anniversary editions, deluxe editions, bonus editions, everything like this. This is the old one I have. I'm gonna tell you quickly about my Doors history. A good friend of mine, Pete, was he was the same as me. He hated the Doors, and then he got into them at some point in the late '80s. And your things that your friends do, they rub off on you. And so I kind of did too. And I'll put this down for a second. I was premature there, which I try not to be premature. And so I got into the Doors in 1989. I bought, before I even had any Doors albums, before I spent one penny on any of the Doors music, I bought No One Here Gets Out Alive. I bought that was the biography of Jim Morrison. I bought that just because it was a very interesting book, and in terms of music history, it's a very important book. So I did buy that. I loved it, and then I bought Wonderland Avenue by Danny Sugarman, which was another great book. I read those books. That was 30 years ago. I read those books. So I was into the Doors books before I was into the Doors music. So then, now I'll go back to 1967. We'll go back to this, to the Doors debut album. This is, I guess, obviously a very important album in the psychedelic era. The Doors had a pretty unique sound, I guess mostly from the keyboards. Ray Manzarek's keyboards had a very unique sound. You could identify the Doors very easily. Obviously Jim Morrison's voice, but Ray Manzarek's keyboards. So this is the first, the debut album by the Doors, and I do like this one. I'll get into how much I like them. I'll talk about my favorite songs. I do like this one. It's not my favorite, but it's good. And to be honest, I'm not super familiar with the Doors. Similar with the Beatles and Led Zeppelin. I'm not, when I say into, I don't know the lyrics to a lot of their songs. The radio songs I know. But I can't, this might be a short video. You're welcome for that. Break On Through, the first Doors song from the first album. That's obviously a classic that became a radio classic. A couple of covers on this were Alabama Song and Backdoor Man. I think Backdoor Man was Willie Dixon. Alabama Song, I can't remember who that is. I skipped the production meeting, so I don't know that one. I'm going to skip right to the end, literally, and as you can see here, the end is the last song on this album. That's one of my favorite Doors songs. It's not my, maybe not my single favorite, but it is one of my top favorites. And the reason why I like that song so much, as you might be able to guess, and probably as a lot of people maybe feel the same way, it was in Apocalypse Now. And Apocalypse Now is one of my top, probably not top 10, not top 5, not even top 3, one of my top 2 favorite movies ever. Apocalypse Now, it could be my favorite, it could be my second favorite. And I think more than any other music and movie combination of sound and film, if you want to call it that. Nothing, I don't know how to explain this. I think I'm not doing a very good job. I have such an association with, I can't hear the end without imagining Apocalypse Now. And so because I guess maybe that's part of the reason that I like that movie so much, even though the end is at the end of Apocalypse Now movie. But what a great atmospheric, whatever other adjectives you want to use to describe that song. The end, it's long, it's 10 or 11 and a half, 12 minutes, something like that. It's very, it's dark. And it reminds me of, or a song later that reminded me of, The Rising Sun. I don't know if I've mentioned The Rising Sun before in any of these, sorry, it should be The Rising Sun, apostrophe, not The Rising Sun. One of my favorite, really dear bands from Mexico City. They have a song on their newest album, which came out around this time last year, called 24 Hour Buffet. And they have a song on there called The People, which has a very Doors and specifically atmosphere of the end. So I love that the Rising Sun song. I think that's they have many great songs. That's I think their first true masterpiece. Reminded me of The End by the Doors. I'll try to focus more on the Doors, not the Rising Sun. So The End is oh, and also Light My Fire. How could I forget? Come on, baby. Another one of their classic songs. I guess two radio classics, Light My Fire and Break On Through. To the Other Side. And The End, I'm not sure if that was a radio song, but I love it because of Apocalypse Now. So that's it for the first Doors album, 1967. It's a classic. This was, I guess, highly influential on some other bands that came after, including maybe some bands now. So the first Doors album, 1967. I'm not going to have too much to say about any of these because, as I said, they were, I kind of, because I liked them so much from reading about Jim Morrison in No One Here Gets Out Alive, I thought I really want to get into their music. And my friend Pete was playing them all the time. So I got into them from that too. So the next one was Strange Days. I think this also came out later that same year. This was back in the days when bands used to put out 2 albums a year. Kiss did that, and Led Zeppelin, and the Beatles, and the Doors too, and I guess the Who. And this one, I'm not too familiar with this one. Love Me Two Times. I knew that one before. There was a punk band called Dead Milkmen who I wasn't a big fan, but I kind of liked them. And they had a song called Bitchin' Camaro. And in Bitchin' Camaro, they did a little thing with Love Me Two Times. So I kind of knew it from that. And I do like that song. Other than that, I'm not that familiar with this album. I know all the songs, but I can't offer too much insight. When the Music's Over, the last track, I like that one. That's another long song. It's 8 or 9 or 10 minutes, similar to The End. I seem to like these long Doors songs, and also by some other bands. I like long songs. And People Are Strange, of course, that was a big song. People Are Strange was another radio hit for the Doors. I maybe could have just reviewed the Doors' greatest hits album instead of all of these individual ones. Love Me Two Times, People Are Strange, When the Music's Over. Yeah, I would have to dig into this more. There's not too much that I'm that familiar with on this one. So not too much about that one. Strange Days. Continuing, next was Waiting for the Sun. I assume this was 1968. The years on these albums, this was 1968. On these ones, I think I have only the, this says 1985, which I guess was when this CD came out. And I think I got it probably around 1990. I went back and bought all the Doors catalogs in, I might have this. I used to write the dates when I bought CDs or books or anything like that. I don't have it for this one. Let me see as I waste more time. And I'm doing this with I can't be bothered to cut anything. Let me see when I get into the Doors. If I have dates on any of these, I should. I thought I wrote them on all. This was, if you can see this and if you care, whoever I'm talking to, I got into the Doors on July 10th, 1990. So that was when I got this CD, July 10th, 1990. And presumably, I probably got them all on that same day or around that day or around that time. So getting back to, if I can do this, getting back to Waiting for the Sun. Hello, I Love You was the opening track. Won't You Tell Me Your Name? Of course. Everybody knows that song. What else can I say about this one? Unknown Soldier, that was a good song. Spanish Caravan. I love Spanish Caravan. There's I think one of the great acoustic guitar, it's not even an intro, it's kind of a part of the song. Spanish Caravan is excellent. One of the few Doors songs that wasn't like a radio hit, I guess, that I really like, Spanish Caravan. And my friend Rolo did a cover of that just the other day. I saw him on his Instagram and Facebook. He did a cover of Spanish Caravan, so go check out Rolo. And 5 to 1. That was, I guess, became notable later, for me notable later, because the solo, Mike McCready's from Pearl Jam, his solo on Alive from 10, clearly lifted from 5 to 1, which at that point, I didn't know. As I said, I wasn't super familiar with the Doors at that point. And now I was also immensely familiar with Kiss. I've mentioned this many times, a Kiss fan since 1975, and Ace Frehley clearly lifted the solo from She. He clearly lifted that from 5 to 1, which then Mike McCready openly admitted later that he also stole the solo from. I think he stole it from Ace Frehley. So it went from the Doors to Kiss to Pearl Jam. That's terrible singing. It's hard to sing, let alone singing a guitar solo. So, but yeah, 5 to 1, great guitar solo. And other than that, not too much I'm familiar with on this one. Hello, I Love You was the big radio hit from this one. God, I heard that song a million times. Hated it when I was a kid, but I've grown to like it now. So Waiting for the Sun, it's another one that I don't have too much to say. I feel like I'm maybe in over my head doing these classic bands. Starting in the next episode of this podcast, I'm going to get back to my roots, back to the bands that I really, really love. I'm kind of stretching it here, doing these other ones. So I'm going to continue with the next one. This was called The Soft Parade. This was a little bit different. This had I guess it was this album that had a little bit more strings. I don't know if it was real strings, or I guess it was back then. Nothing on here. I guess Touch Me was the only real radio song. Really the only one that I'm familiar with, although I do also, it seems that, I'm realizing now I seem to like the last songs on Doors albums. Those are the real big epic songs. What were the other ones? The End from the first album, When the Music's Over from the second, and 5 to 1. Yeah, it seems I'm focusing on the last songs of the album. The Soft Parade is an excellent song. It's 8 minutes and 40 seconds. Do I have it in me to do it? You cannot petition the Lord with prayer. I scared my cat. She was sleeping over here. She just ran under the furniture. That's a great, that intro, that spoken word intro of The Soft Parade. I love it. That's an excellent song. Yeah, so I'm going through these albums really quickly. Some of these other ones I've done, these other videos I've done. My poor cat. I'm spending 10 minutes talking about each album, maybe 6 minutes per song. But Soft Parade was, and I don't really know too much about the Doors in terms of how their albums were received. I don't know. I know what Kiss albums people love and which Kiss albums people hate, and Metallica and Motorhead. I don't really know what's popular with the Doors. I'm sure the first album is very highly regarded, but other than that, I don't know. Continue. I'm almost finished. Only 2 more. This one's called Morrison Hotel. This came out in 1970. This was okay. So this was their 5th album in 3 years. Roadhouse Blues is the opening track. This was, I guess, more rock than the Soft Parade. I think the Soft Parade was a little bit more maybe experimental. I'm not really sure. This one was back to their more rock, I guess. What else do I know on here? Oh, Peace Frog. Peace Frog is one of my favorite Doors songs. And I think also similar to The End. I don't think it was a radio song. I do love Peace Frog. That's an excellent song. And Indian Summer. I love Indian Summer too. That's another one that the Rising Sun song that I mentioned earlier, The People from 24 Hour Buffet. That song reminded me of Indian Summer, which Indian Summer reminded me of a little bit. It had that same vibe as The End. What else is on here? Again, not too familiar with it. Roadhouse Blues was the big radio song. Peace Frog was maybe my personal favorite, and with Indian Summer, Ship of Fools, Land Ho the Spy. I'm racing through these albums. I said I may be overreaching with doing the Doors. But I have all their albums, so I figured why not? I may as well do it. And I just watched the Bills beat the Rams, and it's a Sunday, and I got my football in, and so now I'm getting my music in. And we're now, I don't know how long this video has been, 15 minutes maybe, and I'm already on the last album. And I guess appropriately, the last one for me, I do have a lot more to say about this one than I do about the other 5. This is LA Woman. This was their last album. This came out in 1971. Similar to the Beatles with Help. I mentioned when I talked about the Beatles earlier. I love Help, and all the other ones I like them, but not really a big fan. I love this album. This is hands down, not even close. This is my favorite Doors album by a mile, and I love it. And this for me, every one of my favorite Doors songs basically is all of the 10 tracks on this album. Any one of these albums, any one of these songs could be one of my favorite Doors songs. Except I know I already mentioned The End and Peace Frog. The Changeling, very strange. This was the album that got me into the Doors. Let me see if there's a date on this one. This might have been the first one I bought. Yeah, this was February 8th. 1990. So I read No One Here Gets Out Alive sometime in 1989, and I love the title track, LA Woman, from this. I actually sang it at karaoke, with the band? No, I think it was karaoke. Yeah, it was karaoke at my wedding, because there was also a band at my wedding, but they didn't play LA Woman. I sang LA Woman at my wedding in 2011, just because I love that song. LA Woman is for sure my favorite Doors song, my one single favorite Doors song. She's back. You didn't like that yelling? That was me doing a Jim Morrison impersonation. Poorly. So LA Woman was my or still is my favorite Doors song. I love that song. So I bought this album. This was really my introduction to the Doors in February 1990. I guess I started to hear it in late 1989. So going back here, The Changeling. There's a song from maybe 80, 81, 82, around there, called Funky Town by a band or a group or a duo called Lips Inc. It was Lips Inc. like incorporated, but if you put it together, it's Lip Sync. And the song Funky Town, I heard that before I ever heard The Changeling. And when I heard The Changeling, I thought, that sounds just like Funky Town. Reminds me of Funky Town. I don't know if anybody else feels the same way or has the same opinion. I think Lip Sync, Funky Town, they ripped off The Changeling by the Doors. Don't you love her madly? That's a great song. Been Down So Long. Every song on here is great. The Cars is by my window. LA Woman. La America is maybe my second favorite Doors song. For 1971, very dark and very heavy. That the first part of La America, it sounds like, if you had never heard it before, and if somebody put it on, you might think it's there's this genre they call doom metal or stoner rock or something like that. And that the opening, the guitar, and even the first minute or minute and a half, 2 minutes, I don't know, of La America, it sounds like it, and then it goes into more typical Doors, traditional Doors sounding song, maybe 2 minutes into the song. But La America sounds like it could be a doom metal song. It's dark, kind of slow, heavy. It just has that vibe to it. I don't know if any metal bands have ever covered La America, but somebody should. Maybe Sleep could do a good cover of that. I'm not suggesting it. Maybe Sleep couldn't care less about the Doors. But La America is a good song. Hyacinth House. I forgot about Hyacinth House. Hyacinth House. That could also be one of my very, very top Doors song. Very kind of a little bit different, I think, for the Doors. To me, it had more. It didn't have that psychedelic feel. I think this album was a little bit closer to. It had if they had continued, I think whatever album would have come after this, if Jim Morrison hadn't died, maybe it would have been my favorite Doors album. I think here they were going for, I don't know if they were going for it, but to me this is more of a rock album. I think Jim Morrison, if he hadn't died, I think he would have become a metal guy. I think maybe the Doors would have sounded a little bit more metal, a little bit more, a little heavier. I don't know. That's just what I think. But Hyacinth House was an excellent, not a pop song at all, but very kind of a nice, gentle, melodic song. It didn't have the Doors keyboard psychedelic sound, but I do love Hyacinth House. Crawling King, Snake, and the Wasp, Texas Radio on the Big Beat. And then it ends with Riders on the Storm, another long song. I think Riders on the Storm is, what is it, about 8 or 9 minutes? 7:14. Yeah, so the Doors, they were, I guess that was their thing, to have these long, epic, grand, big songs as the final songs of their albums. And they were all good. I like I said, I love those long Doors songs. That's it. Wow, that was a really quick one. Maybe that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I wish I had more to say about the Doors. I know that they obviously had a wealth of unreleased songs. I think a lot of them ended up as bonus tracks on anniversary editions of these albums, these 6 albums that I talked about. Or as I think they had a box set, maybe 2 box sets, or maybe some rarities. I think they had a rarities album. They had a greatest hits album. So yeah, not too much to say about the Doors, but pretty amazing the impact that the Doors had on music. And they were only around 4 years. Their first album was '67. Last album, the Greatest LA Woman, was 1971. What an impact they had in only 4 years, 6 albums. And people still worship the Doors, love the Doors. There are some people that are unbelievably, loyal, unabashed, strong Doors fans. I'm kind of in the middle. As I said, I think they're very polarizing, although I am in the middle. So that's it for the Doors. What else can I say? Finish. I have, I keep saying, every time I do these, I keep saying I have 1 more, 2 more. I have 4 more bands that I can do. I keep finding, I think, okay, I have all this band CDs. I'm going to talk about them. My original plan was just to do the bands that I, was into when I was a kid, Kiss and Metallica and Iron Maiden. But as I've said before, I like standing in my house in front of the camera, and talking to nobody as if I'm talking to my best friend. And I love music, so that's how it is. But in the next, if you can call these episodes, the next 4 episodes, I should be back, I think, to my really, what's the word I'm looking for? They're going to be bands that I'm really familiar with, mostly, except for kind of one. The one band that I'm going to talk about is maybe kind of like a bridge between the classic rock bands of the last 4 episodes I've done and the more modern bands I've done. Maybe you can figure it out by that poor description. So 4 more to go. Some of them you might be able to figure out. That's it. This was very short. I have my Sunday free today. I didn't have to spend a long time doing this. So that's it for the Doors, and for me, for Jim Morrison, and who else? Ray Manzarek, Robbie Krieger, John Densmore, everybody from the Doors. See ya.